New this morning from CNBC.com, JPMorgan is moving into the next phase of its AI strategy, unveiling a new blueprint that could make it the world's first AI-powered bank. Joining us right now is CNBC's Hugh Sun. He got a look at this and is here to tell us all about it. Hey, Hugh, what's this look like? What's it feel like?
Hey, good morning, Becky. Yeah, so we got the first demonstration that any outsider has seen of LLM Suite, which is basically their portal that connects LLMs from folks like OpenAI and Anthropic and connects it with all their enterprise data and applications. And so, the first example of this shown by their chief architect of this plan was essentially like prompt, hey, I'm an investment banker at JPMorgan Chase, create an investment banking pitch book for NVIDIA. And in about 30 seconds, it produced a credible looking deck or pitch book that would normally take a fleet of junior bankers all night to do. And so that was a pretty interesting eye-opening example, Becky.
That makes you wonder what the future is. I mean, obviously, that's great news in terms of productivity, makes you think great news in terms of what clients can get. But it does make you wonder what happens to the employees, those junior bankers, how they learn the ropes, how they figure out what they're doing, what that means for hiring overall.
Well, those are some of the issues that have been discussed in this offsite that CEO Jamie Dimon held. And there are concerns about that. But it looks like the advantage is the prize waiting at the end of this is, if they can get there, if they can become the first mover in terms of reaping the benefits of generative AI, I think those are worth it. And so one of the ramifications of this is, you could do more with less. And so one of the ideas out there, and I've talked to several investment banks, it's not just JPMorgan, but they are considering what a new model for junior bankers would look like, for instance. And so, if you think of 6-to-1 ratio, for instance, you have 6 junior bankers to every senior banker, every, managing director or every partner, that could collapse to 4-to-1. And instead of all 4 of those being in an expensive place like New York City, there are plans for essentially, or they're examining plans for having 2 of them in New York and perhaps 1 in Buenos Aires and perhaps 1 in India. And so you could have a model in which AI-empowered junior bankers are essentially handing off things to their cohorts in other time zones. They could work around the clock. And by the way, they've structurally reduced the cost structure of investment banking because they're using 20-30% less investment junior bankers. And so that's one sort of example. And I think what this shows is it's not just sprinkling AI over an organization, allowing ChatGPT to live on their desktops. You basically have to connect it to your enterprise data, but at the same time, you have to engage on structural changes. And these changes are somewhat painful in order to reap the full benefits of generative AI, Becky.
It's great that they can find more effective, more efficient ways of doing this that are cheaper, but even if they're first in getting to this point, they're not going to be the last ones there. David Solomon at Goldman Sachs has already talked about how much AI can really shave off of what they're doing when it comes to investment banking, too. And I just wonder how long before the clients say, hey, this is costing you less. I am not paying you the same rates for this.
Right. And so the executive chats I've had is basically the idea that, as an early mover and manage, and you're right, Becky, that Goldman Sachs, JPMorgan Chase, and Morgan Stanley, the 3 majors, they're going to get there first, right? They've got huge investment budgets, and so they will get there first. Now, the industry is very large. And so the thinking is, for a period of a few years, perhaps, they will enjoy higher margins because the rest of the industry still has to earn their market price. And so what they will do is essentially, collapse their cost, right? They'll be able to do more with less. They'll have an advantage for a few years at the very least, while the rest of the market still has to charge that going rate. And so it's not a forever advantage, but it certainly is a pretty juicy reward at the end of this Gen AI journey.